this was just hot, stinking pile of doo-doo. It's a great thought, but like the way she went about it was honestly stupid. This man has written about 10 books apparently. Um, just why are you doing this to trees? Is my question. Like, let the trees live. Don't waste the trees on these books. Hello, and welcome to a new video. Today, I am going to be talking about the 8 books that I hate. Get it? Get it? 8, hate. I am very proud of myself for that wordplay, even though it is very childish. But we're okay with that here. I have tried to make this place look like I am in the bad place or hell. But like, well, there's only that much I can do with like all of the atmospheric stuff. However, my content will truly be horrifying. Not in the way like I will be horrifying in terms of the books that I read. Um, and I will talk to you about today are books that I just did not like. I read quite a few books in 2021, quite a few, 150 plus, about 160. And there were some amazing books that I will talk to you about tomorrow. But there were some absolutely not great ones. And if these are books that you have liked, I am so sorry in advance. Like, it's not you, it's me. It's between me and the book, and it's not about you and me. Everyone has different tastes. We can't be a monolith. So I'm just gonna get into the 8 books, and we're gonna go from like least in terms of like the books that I hated the least to the most hated. And let's just begin. Alright, so my least hated book is actually a genre that I don't really read too much, and that is from the horror genre. But I saw the cover and I was like, Jesus Christ, this looks absolutely amazing. And it was a short one. So I was like, you know what? Even if it is really scary, at least it'll be really scary for like a short period of time. Essentially, the story is of like these group of friends who go to this haunted house in Japan, because the 2 friends who are there want to get like married in that place or whatever, but this place is like haunted by like this evil bride who will like kill everyone. So I don't understand people who want to do this for fun. I just will never understand y'all. But anyway, these characters decide to go there and rent it out and stay there, and these characters suck. They are stupid, first of all, because why would you want to do this to yourself? And 2, they were just the worst characters. Like, I don't understand why they were friends. They absolutely hated each other. Like, there was everyone had dated each other and then had issues with them dating each other, and it was just like, I was like, why is this happening? Just everything that happened after like the ghosty stuff or the horror-y stuff was happening, I was like, why are you doing this? They themselves are like, oh, we probably shouldn't do it, and then immediately go and do that very thing that they said they probably shouldn't do. So I was like, why? Okay, just ugh. And the writing was I don't know, it was trying to be very beautiful, but I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm gonna read out one line, just give you an example of what this supposed beautiful writing was. But the line was, her footsteps frictionless as envy. What does that mean? What is her footsteps frictionless like envy mean? Like, I don't, what? Like, make it make sense, you know? And there were just so many lines like this where I was just like, it, you're trying to be like, whoa, I am writing amazing literature, but it just doesn't make sense, buddy. Like, just say it normally. Like, she was walking softly or she treaded softly across the floor or some shit like that. Anyway, it just wasn't good. I did not enjoy myself reading this. Wow, I am really getting heated over my like eighth book. Wait till I get to number one. So I yeah. Anyway, this book was just a no from me, and it's really sad because I thought that it would be quite fun. But no. Next, we move on to book number 7, and that is How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. And this was a book that I was really looking forward to because, well, it was dark academia, but Asians. That's how this was sold. There was a lot of like fanfare going on about this on Instagram, on TikTok in general. But I was like, ooh, this sounds cool, but it was not good. I feel really bad because like I was really rooting for you, but Jesus Christ, you were terrible. This was essentially Pretty Little Liars but Asians. I don't know if you watched Pretty Little Liars and how like absolutely idiotic it is. It is addictive as a show. Like I just wanted to know what happened, but like it is downright stupid in terms of the plot. And that's what this book was as well. So essentially we are following this group of people who go to this very like hoity-toity school, and these group of Asians essentially have just lost a friend of theirs who was like the person who sort of kept them all together. She was like the most popular girl in school, but she also turns out to be like a ginormous bitch. So people were just like, oh, we don't miss her, but also like we're supposed to miss her because she's supposedly our best friend. But what happens is that suddenly this thing called the proctor starts like leaking these secrets about these friends on like this app that they have like within the school to talk about gossip and stuff. And then these friends come together and they were like, oh, we need to like figure out who this proctor is and like stop them. So then they band together like really bad like Scooby-Doo characters and try to solve this shit, which is just really stupid. I was just annoyed from the get-go because I was like, okay, let me give you an example of how just like why like the slogan for the school, this very fancy school, is in septem finis est, which is in the beginning is the end. And what sort of school keeps that as a slogan? In the beginning is the end. Like why would you? Why? I don't understand. Everything about this was so convenient, so stupid. And as I said, it was basically like Pretty Little Liars. And if you have watched it, I shit you not, it's like the author copy pasted scenes and incidents and everything, and like character integrations and like the way that they gelled with each other and like the character studies and just like all of these sort of things. She just took it from Pretty Little Liars and then put it in this book and just changed the names and their ethnicities and was like voila. That was this book essentially. I am so sorry that I'm shitting on it so terribly, but like I wanted to die while reading this. I wanted to throw my Kindle across the room after I finished reading this because the end was just ginormously stupid. And I was like, why is this even a thing? So yeah, that was my thought process for what is this book called even? Good, maybe I've forgotten. Great. This is How We Follow. No, I don't care. Okay, next we have a book called The Roommate by Rosie Danin, and this was loved by many on the interwebs, and I get it to a certain extent because it was steamy and it was like, ooh, the sex scenes were quite steamy. that I feel like that is the only like saving grace of this book, but everything else was a hot mess and so cliched and just, oh my god. I am just gonna read what I wrote in my Goodreads like review, and it says, no, god no, I am so angry with this book. You could have been good, but nope. You decided to be a flaming garbage with hints of good sex scenes, but even they were so cliche. I would say that this is a porn parody if saying that just wasn't so fucking ironic, given the book has a main character being a porn star who is trying to topple the porn industry. I know. I know. Sweet, innocent, tiny, petite, but with big boobs and an ass, rich girl falls for a hunky, sexy, poor, bad boy, and he essentially teaches her sex. I know. Come on, seriously, I am disappointed in you. Also, the sort of things that the characters say and do, no one ever does. Was going to give it a 1.5 or 2 stars just for the sex scenes and Naomi's character, who's like another porn star, who's this girl, but like I liked her character, she was quite cool. If nothing, but the ending made me want to throw up and kick something, so degraded it to 1 star. So yeah, that was my thoughts on The Roommate by Rosie Danin. Again, a lot of people have really liked this, so good on them. Again, I would say that if you like super cliched romance books, as I just discussed, then sure, go for it. I liked the thoughts that they had about the porn industry and all of that sort of stuff, and it was very sex positive, which is great, but it was just veiled in so many cliches that I wanted to die or just throw up or just hit something. So yeah, that was The Roommate. And let's just move on to the next terrible book. The next terrible book is also a romance that a lot of people like, which is like, I don't understand. Maybe I am not like a smutty romance person, but I am. I just think that like this was badly written and I did not like it. But the book is It Happened One Summer by whatever Tessa Bailey. Yes, I was warned against Tessa Bailey by a friend of mine, Mira, but I decided to still read this because this book was sold as like the main character being like Alexis from Schitt's Creek, and I love Schitt's Creek, so I was really excited to read from this character's POV, but I mean, Alexis would never. But this book is basically about this girl who has a really rich stepfather. So she is like this party girl, and she gets herself into some trouble. Her stepfather's like, you never take responsibility. So he shuns her to this seaside town where her actual like father, who died now, grew up or is from. So she has to go there, and she goes there with her sister, and they try to like bring his bar up to speed, like it's dilapidated and stuff, and they try to fix it up again and all of that sort of stuff, and she's left with hardly any money, and she's trying to do her best or whatever, and learn and become a better person and all of that sort of stuff. But the other romance plotline is that there is this fisherman who, apparently fishermen are super rich in this thing, which is cool. Like maybe they are, like he's a fisheries guy, but this fisherman is like a grumpy asshole-ish fellow with a heart of gold, and she is like this sunshine, sunny, oh my god, I love money and materialistic things, but also I'm really sweet and cute and hot. Anyway, and they sort of have friction in the beginning, and then they are frictioned in the end. So yeah, they have an interesting relationship, but I absolutely hated it because he was just like so like, she is mine and she is my property and like all of that sort of stuff, which like sure people are into because of this whole like alpha whatever situation, but I get really turned off by it, and just like in general, not just sexually, just like I as a human being, I do not appreciate it. So I'm like, okay, did not like that. And just the sex scenes was just so weirdly written. I was just like, what is going on? Why are you saying such things? Like, I'm gonna give you an example, all right? God, I don't even know. I don't even want to say this out loud, but it's like the part of this is like parting the damn folds of her femininity. Why? First of all right. Mewling into his mouth. Again, also, why are you mewling into his mouth? And oh boy, I've also like noted this part down, which is basically where so the main guy, he had a wife, who he wasn't really like in love with, but the wife's father is like his mentor, so he married her for the happiness of the mentor and the girl who was in love with him. So, I mean, I didn't get that, but she died essentially. And then the father of the dead wife, right? The father of the dead wife says this to the guy. His name is Brendan. He's like, you don't have to explain, Brendan. I know you're a young man with oats to sow. He rubbed at the back of his neck. Not a lot of fellas will be able to ignore a girl like that. Dude, why are you talking to each other about this girl in such a way, and why is this even a topic of conversation? Like, just no. Jesus Christ. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. The sex scenes were weird, as I said. The characters were annoying. I didn't like it. So those were my thoughts. All right, so next we have a book that I honestly think I have tried to erase from my mind, but that is Mapping Love by Ashwini Iyer Tiwari. This is a book by the author. It is her debut novel, but she is an amazing director, and I really liked her work. So please watch her movie Neel Batte Sonata if you have it already. It's really sweet and really nice. However, this book was the complete opposite and was a complete dumpster fire. We are basically following this girl called Urja, who was in the US for many, many years, and then she comes back because her mom has died, but she's been away for like 2 months since her mom has died, for various reasons. But she comes back to her house and finds out that her father is missing, and they anyway have not had like the best like relationship. So she goes out trying to find her father, and this all sounds like great and stuff, but like Jesus, this was again just terrible. The writing was not great. This whole like idea of trying to find self and all of that sort of stuff it's a great thought, but like the way she went about it was honestly stupid. It was overtly melodramatic in not a good way. There was an insta love situation that I just did not understand. I don't understand why there were so many different plot twists in this book. It was just unnecessary, confusing, and like just everything was like, why is this happening? Did not make sense at all. I didn't like it. It was like, maybe if you converted it into like a movie or something, it would be just like this very soapy sort of drama. But even then I would not watch it even if you paid me. So yeah, that's the situation. I yeah, that I'm just gonna end it there, and yeah. Okay. Moving on to my top 3 of the worst books that I read. In number 3, we have Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Mansala. And this is a book that I honestly thought when I read it that no way would anything else be worse than this book, because holy shit, such a dumpster fire, so bad. Jesus Christ, save me. This was sold to me as the cozy mystery, and people have liked this book and said that, hey, as a cozy mystery, this is great. But I feel bad for the other people who have written good cozy mysteries, because you're comparing this to them, and like, please just give the other cozy mystery writers a bit more respect in life, because this was not good. It's a debut book, so like I'm gonna give her some slack, and I just feel like the editors probably just had to do a better job with it, because like there were so many plot holes and like just I don't know. I thought the characters were the most idiotic things on earth. Like honestly, it was like a town full of sociopaths. I will come to like what I mean when I'm saying this, but essentially the story, because let me tell you what the story is about this girl who's like Filipino American, and she comes back to her hometown. She's like a chef. She wants to be a chef, and she comes back to help her aunt who has basically like raised her, and help her with her restaurant. So she starts working at the restaurant again, and everything's great. But her ex-boyfriend comes in, and he's like this douchebag food critic, and he comes to the restaurant and dies, because there's something in his food. So that's great. So basically the main character and the people at the restaurant are implicated in this murder of sorts, and she's like, you know what, I need to figure out what exactly is happening, and all of that sounds great. However, the characters and everything that happened was just so annoying. So first of all, I've heard a lot of things from people who are diabetic, that absolutely hated this book, because they were like, the way the main character was treated was really bad, because the main character, I mean the main character who died, like the person who died, the guy who died, he was diabetic, and he died having the dessert, and he was allergic to something or whatever in the dessert, and he just died. And everyone else in the book is like, serves him right for having dessert as a diabetic, and I'm just like, what? Like my father was diabetic, and like diabetes runs in my family, and that's just like, what are you talking about? Diabetics can have desserts, like they just have to have it in like, like proportions and stuff like that. Like the way that you are villainizing this apparently really douchebaggy man, but for having dessert though, I mean, like, come on. That was really stupid. But in general, these characters, as I said, were absolute sociopaths. So let me just read out what these people did. I'm just gonna go to my phone notes. Right. So over here it says, I have written, somebody got murdered in front of them and they're concerned about makeup. She has seen someone get assaulted. And the next scene, they are laughing and playing in their friend's cafe. The fiance of the person who got assaulted wants to speak to her, and she ditched him at lunch and didn't call to explain after he's called 5 times. Like, I was so angry reading this book. I just like it just really pissed me off. The end was absolutely dumb. I just didn't like it. I hope that like her next books, because there are going to be like a whole series about this, I hope that they are at least a little more polished. But that's all I have to say about this one. All right, we're moving on to my top two. Are you excited? So the next one that I want to talk to you about is actually a book that I was paid to read, and I said that I will not put up books that I was paid to read, because like I wouldn't have usually read them, and like mostly they turn out to be kind of terrible. But this book was just so bad that I had to include this here, just to like make you go through and make you understand why this was just so objectively terrible. And the book is Mafia Premier League. Okay, and we are going to laugh out loud at the stuff that has happened in this book. All right, but essentially, this book is about this various characters. We are following this one guy who has come back to town after being away for a while. He used to be like the right hand man of this like gangster sort of fellow who has now done a lot of like business now. Like he has textile industries and stuff, so that's how he shows his business to be legit. And his name is MM. So cool. What a great like name. He honestly, like, the depiction of him was just this very stereotypical, oh, the big bad, I'm twirling my mustache, but like I'm actually like this loud Punjabi uncle. who likes whiskey and stuff. Like I was just like whatever. But this guy has essentially bought this team of this like cricket team for the Mumbai Premier League, and he is calling this guy back to help him like assemble it and all of that sort of stuff. The other person that we are following is this guy who was this really big cricketer, but then he got into drugs, and oh my god, the drugs and the powder ruined his life. So he is trying to have like a comeback, and we get to see his relationship, and how he had this one true love, and how that like got ruined, and how his life was ruined, but now he's trying to like come back and stuff like that. And this was just a hot mess. First of all, when we are introduced to MM, we are also introduced to his right hand man, who says that he is not only MM's sidekick, but left kick, right kick, front kick, back kick. And I was like, I want to die. This was basically written by like an uncle um, who was trying to crack jokes and trying to sound super interesting, but failed completely. This man has written about 10 books apparently. Just why are you doing this to trees? Is my question. Like, let the trees live. Don't waste the trees on these books. Jesus Christ. Anyway, um, moving on. There was a lot of like show don't tell. So like things would be said like, and then he said this empathetically, and then this person was saying this but caringly, and I was like, why didn't you just write it like that? Why did you have to say empathetically, caringly? So it was just very annoying all throughout. Also, the character of like the cricketer who's trying to like regain his lost whatever prestige and stuff like that. His love story with this girl was straight up weird. It is insta love again, but essentially this girl is his stalker. And then he decides to meet the stalker, and she's like, oh wow, she's hot, let me tap that, and essentially within 24 hours they are in love, and then exchange a sambar kiss, which is basically they are having food, like they're having dosa and sambar, and then while the sambar is on his mouth, he kisses her hand, and she's like, haha, you have given me a sambar kiss. And that, yeah. Oh yeah, fun. And then she disappears because she's like, you are like doing drugs, and like this is bad for you. And then she goes missing, and then he finds her again after many years, and like there's a guy in her room, and she's like, why is this guy in this room? But like it's a hospital room, okay? She was in a hospital, like, and that's the first thing that he says to the love of his life after 2 years of like seeing her when she's in a hospital room, to be like, who this guy is in our hospital room? I mean, I couldn't with this book. Just like, why? Why? The amount of money that was paid to me to read this book, first of all, was not enough in general, but also was just never going to be enough. Like the amount of money that you could pay me to read this book, I mean, nothing was ever going to be enough. I'm sorry. This was just hot, stinking pile of doo doo. As I said, I feel bad for the trees. I really feel bad for the trees because they're like, is this what my life was meant for? To be made into this stinky, stinky, terrible book. All right. So the last book that I have, which is my worst book of the year, is going to be this one. I've forgotten the name. That is how bad it is. Oh, An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahira Mafi. Now, Tahira Mafi is a very well-known author. She has written a lot of like young adult books that are well loved. I question them because they are like books called Shatter Me and stuff like that, and I don't want to be ever shattered. So like whatever, that's up to you, I guess. But she has written another book that was very well loved called a large expanse of sea that a lot of people really liked. So I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this book sounds good. It's basically about like this young Muslim girl um, in the US right after 9/11, and when people have started to go to war with Iraq. And basically, how she is dealing with stuff. Her brother has died, her family is in shambles, her father is in the hospital, and like she's just dealing with a lot of emotional turmoil. And I was like, okay, you know what? This sounds really interesting. I wonder what this author will have to add to this conversation. I was like, yes, let's do this. And then it was just a shit show from page one. I shit you not. This author, I feel so bad for saying this, but it was like while she was writing lines, I felt like she thought that they were so smart and so amazing that it's like almost like masturbatory. But they just did not make sense, and I wanted to throw up or like throw something at this book because it was just bad. The plot what did not make sense. It was essentially like how like when 13 or 14-year-olds envision like these very romantic things that are very like fan fictiony. It was basically a bunch of those things just like strung together with this very like pick me, woe is me sort of character who could have been amazing but just was not. I am going to give you an example of like the sort of lines that were written in this book. I made 96 highlights in this book and none of them were good. But the first page, there was this line which is lightning tore the sky into two, and I shivered jerkingly as if electrocuted. Can you just imagine that in your head? Like you shiver jerkingly as if electrocuted. She is also at this point of time lying down on the road as it rains. Yeah, I know. Great. All right. Then there was a romance, as I said, with like her ex best friend's brother. So it's like a forbidden romance of sorts. But the person kissed her so deeply, she cried out, "Ma'am, why? Why are you crying out when someone kisses you so deeply? That sounds like a terrible kiss. That should never happen. Jesus, why would you cry out when someone kisses you? What?" And just everything was just written so dramatically, and I'm just going to read out this one like part of the book that illustrates this completely. And here's how it goes. It says, finally, without a word, Ali walked away, disappeared into the dying sunset. I realized as I cried myself to sleep that night that I might have hurt him less had I simply driven a stake through his heart. Why? Why? What what was the reason? What was the reason? This book was basically while I was reading it, it was the Michael Scott like thing where he's just saying no.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That was essentially me. That was me all throughout where I was just like, why am I reading this? But I just wanted to read it to see how terrible it is so that I could come here and tell you how terrible it is. So I am just really disappointed with this author. I'm disappointed with life. To be honest, I was just like, oh my god. And yeah, those were the 8 books that I hate. I know that I was really probably mean. And again, as I have said, if you have liked these books, it's not you, it's me. So like, let's just live and let live. All right. I hope that you liked this. If you did, then just hit the subscribe button, Like, and give me a like. If you want to give me money, you can, no problem. I do this for your fun entertainment thing. Anyway, that's about it. Tomorrow I'm going to be coming in and talking about my best books, and I have a lot of best books that I want to talk to you about. So I'm really excited about that. So I hope you're excited as well. And I will just see you in my next video. Bye.